But, I mean, that aside, we might as well move on to the final thing. Ewan's favorite rider of all time, Wout van Aert, is apparently not going to be targeting a new Grand Tour, shall we say, the Giro d'Italia. And what's the story? And what do you make of it?
Well, this has been heavily rumoured by Gazzetta dello Sport and the Italian press, saying that Wout van Aert will be going to the Giro d'Italia in 2024. This is with the extended focus of making it to the Olympic Games. Tour de France participation looks unlikely. But Wout van Aert would be going to the Giro with an eye on general classification, aiming for a top 5 in that race. Interesting. Visma, of course, the reigning champions of that race after winning it with Primož Roglič last year. And they're looking to potentially send Wout van Aert next year. We've seen Mathieu van der Poel. He rode the Giro back in 2022 before riding the Tour de France, to the detriment probably of his Tour de France campaign. But for Wout van Aert, this is going to be a busy old season. He's still looking to win Paris-Roubaix or the Ronde van Vlaanderen next year. Then he'll jump into the Giro d'Italia. Then we'll switch his focus to winning the Parisian Olympic Games in late July of 2024. A busy old year for Wout van Aert. It's some sort of Pogacar-style calendar. Guys, do you think Wout's going to be able to pull off a GC run at the Giro?
2021 Wout is what I'm thinking about. Last time we had Wout, who was just going for like a GC over something which was hilly, was, in my opinion, Torino 2021, when he finished in second place in GC over Prati di Trevo, which was won by Pogacar on that day. Wout van Aert finished 9th, 45 seconds down. There was another climb before then, so it was a hard day. But I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm just being too pessimistic about it, but Wout van Aert has climbed very well in the past. He's been up there as one of the last sort of mountain domestiques ahead of like a Sepp Kuss. But I don't know, Wout seems to have changed the last few years. His climb doesn't seem to be as good. I'm not sure. I think it's going to take a little bit of a shift where either the classics are going to take like a big hit and the Giro will be like better, or he's going to try and do well in both and neither are going to go well.
I'm glad you mentioned Tivon, because that climb is back in the first week of the Giro. It's in towards the end of the first week of the Giro, but Wout could win stage 2. It's a very Wout kind of finish, the one to Europa. That motor engine kind of climb, and we've seen people win at Europa who are sort of the more diesel engine kind of climbers. Potentially what Wout van Aert could be there, but I just don't think there's enough evidence to show Wout van Aert being a legitimate GC contender, apart from Tirreno back in 2021. The Tour de France in 2020, I think the stars aligned. That's the best form we've ever seen Wout in, and he was inside top 20, but not really punching higher than that. There is a possibility that he is there, but I think that there is a distinct difference from being a mountain domestique who can go in the breakaway, do all this kind of stuff, to being a general classification leader. For Visma-Lease bike, though, who else are they really going to send as their leader for the Giro? Because they've lost Roglic.
GC Kuss.
GC Kuss might be going to the Vuelta again. He's a strong affiliation with Spain, loves the race, he won it last year, and then he does the Tour de France as a domestique. Who else really are they going to send? It's heartbreaking for Olaf Koy, given that he should really be at that Giro, but looking elsewhere as well, outside of Visma-Lease bike and their own sort of objectives, the route. No Grand Tour route is easy, but this is the easiest Giro route we've seen in a while. It's very sort of first week heavy, but if Wout can make it through that first week, he could really be on for something. It's a lot less climbing than last year, a lot less climbing from years before. There's also the there aren't many mountain stages. This is May in Italy. We know the Giro can be dictated by bad weather conditions. For instance, if that mountain stage to Grappa, which has 2 meaty climbs, if that gets altered and they take out a couple climbs because there's snow at the top of the mountains, that could favor Wout van Aert greatly. And if he can sort of back that up with a good TT performance and still be there and hang on, then I could start to believe that Wout van Aert could finish top 5. I don't think he's going to podium. I just think jumping straight into a Grand Tour as the leader in these conditions just doesn't quite work out. I think it's going to be really interesting. And also, It's a little bit of difference from Wout van Aert, because we've seen him copy-paste his season a couple times now, where he goes to Tour de France and does the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do at the Giro.
5 years in a row he's been at the Tour. No Giro, no Vuelta.
Yeah, it is refreshing, because it's the kind of clock ticking with Wout a bit. It sounds bad to say, but
Oof, I thought you was going to be the main one.
At the moment, it's like, as the old saying goes, it's good, but it's not quite Carling. Kind of how it's going. Well, one-day races, yeah, there's an E3 and again, but that Flanders and that Roubaix is still missing. So is it sort of like, oh, these aren't really working, so I'm going to try do something else because, I want to get to the end of my career and not just be a one-trick pony where I've just done the same season for until Kingdom comes. I'm also interested, just that point to a side, but will Jumbo-Visma suffer in the Tour without a Wout there? What if something goes wrong? Wout is incredibly versatile.
Yes.
Are Jumbo-Visma going to be like, oh my word, we're now missing Wout because he's now wanting to do Olympics and he can't come here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say last year he was definitely a pivotal role for that victory, but this year I feel like he hindered it more because they put so much resource into trying to get him a stage win, and yeah, obviously it didn't quite come to fruition. But yeah,
but you say that, but on that stage, the Coterre, the one that was yes, it was eventually won by Pogacar, but Wout van Aert played a really key role in isolating Pogacar there. There's nobody else really in Jumbo-Visma who could do that, unless maybe Dylan van Baarle really sort of focuses on his mountain climbing. There's no one else. Or maybe Wilco Kelderman really steps up to the plate, but just don't think Wilco Kelderman has that racing instinct in him to fill that role. Maybe what I'm also thinking is last year, they ended up winning by 7.5 minutes in the end? Maybe they're thinking, well, we won by quite a lot anyway. This route is really favorable to Vingegaard. Why don't we try and see if we can do this without Wout?
It's quite dangerous when you think about it because Tadej was coming off an injury.
True. But I know Tadej had two at the time trial, but he had one major road stage where he just sort of collapsed. But maybe they're thinking, well, I mean, Jonas definitely, I think Jonas had more to give. Yeah, who else could they draft into that team to fill that role of Wout van Aert? Because they've also lost Nathan van Hooydonk in that Tour de France setup next year, given his early retirement due to cardiac problems. They have to fill up two roles in that Tour de France team. If Wout van Aert is going to skip the race to focus on the Olympic Games, who's it going to be? Matteo Jorgensen potentially? Jan Tratnik? Can Jorgensen and Tratnik fulfill those roles? I simply don't think so.
Like you say, it is a bit of a gamble because I think that with the signings that UAE have made this year, we could definitely see not just like a marginally, but a certain stronger UAE Team Emirates team next year at the Tour in comparison to Jumbo, because outside of if you don't take Wout, I just think he's such a key pin in that machine. Especially think back, I mean, kind of tying it back to the Wout van Aert GC at the Giro. Wout van Aert at Haute dropped Pogacar. I know I was like, he was in a break and stuff like that, but what if you get that Wout van Aert at the Giro? He was, I know he finished behind Pogacar on that day, but he was one of the better climbers inside the final week of the Tour de France. Is that a credential that he might do well at the Giro as well, by the fact that he did so good on such a big climb?
As we were saying, I do also think it is a huge gamble. There's no one at UAE who is an equivalent to Pogacar. Patrick, you said that UAE are strengthening that team. They definitely are. They're bringing Nils Pollitt in. They've got some stronger climbers as well joining them in Sivakov and so forth. But is there really, there's no equivalent for Wout van Aert at UAE. And that's what has made Wout van Aert such a pivotal character in the past couple Tours de France as a teammate, is that he provides something that UAE can't simply rise up to. We saw this year Adam Yates was climbing better than Sepp Kuss. That was a huge thing for them. If they drafted Almeida or Ayuso to go to the Tour de France, they could be really good guys. They could probably challenge Wilco Kelderman up these climbs. And they've also got a rouleur who's going to be a similar to sort of Christophe Laporte kind of style in Nils Pollitt next year. So they really need to 100% seriously think about this before they commit.
I mean, we might as well finish this segment off. Where do you think he's going to finish? I'm going to say 3rd place. Come on, Wout. What? You never know.
You could be right. It depends on who turns up, but with all the Galacticos apparently going to the Tour, competition could be a little bit lower. I know I said 12th earlier. I'll go with...
First.
No, I'll go with 9th. I'm keeping it real.
I don't think a podium, but I think a mid top 10, somewhere between 4th and 7th. I just think podiuming would be a step too far in your first Grand Tour.
I mean, everyone's putting him inside top 10, which, I mean, fair enough. He's finished 20th, 19th, and 21st at the Tour.
What if it just backfires in that first week and he has a bit of a meltdown and then goes for Ciclamino instead? Would winning Ciclamino be another big achievement? Would that be equal to finishing place in GC?
That's got to be Coy's job.
Oh shoot, yeah. Oh,
Koi's not going to a Grand Tour. Never in his life is
You're literally
allowed to go to a Grand Tour.
Evan Embal's going to do a Grand Tour before a lot of Koi is.
wait, she's already done one. She did it this season.